Red Dead Redemption 1 versus Red Dead Redemption 2. Which one is better? Red Dead Redemption 1. Easy. Not even close. Don't even have to think about it. Why am I making a video about this? I was thinking about different games and different preferences for myself, what I prefer. And I wanted to talk about it for a minute. So, my favorite genre of video game is role-playing game. Easy. Not even close. That's just, my thing. I love D&D. I love fantasy. I love Fallout stuff as well. I love, but especially fantasy. I'm really into, medieval fantasy stuff. Fantasy role-playing games is definitely my favorite type of video game ever. That's my favorite, genre-wise. My second favorite is stealth games. So I love Metal Gear Solid. I love Hitman. I love Assassin's Creed, though it's a little bit different. It's like social stealth, so it's a little different. But I love those types of games. I also would give an honorable mention to Splinter Cell as well. That's kind of my least favorite of those, but I still love Splinter Cell. Those are still fantastic games. So those are my first is role-playing games. Second is stealth games. My third favorite genre of game, if I think about it, it would be between first-person and third-person shooters. I was thinking, which one do I prefer? Do I prefer first-person or third-person shooters? And really, it comes down to third-person shooters for me. And I don't really have to think about that much either. For me, the only thing that makes that difficult is there are some amazing first-person shooters that are just, incredibly good. For me, Call of Duty World at War's campaign, also Call of Duty Black Ops campaign, especially when combined, with Reznov's story, I think that is the best first-person shooters ever for me. Followed closely by Half-Life 1 and 2, which I know many first-person shooter aficionados and maybe scoff at that a little bit, that I would maybe put a Call of Duty over Half-Life, but World at War has live action footage of someone getting killed by a Chinese prisoner of war being killed by a Japanese soldier within the first 10 minutes of the game. You see that, followed by Roosevelt's Pearl Harbor speech, and then you're a prisoner of war, and you're seeing your fellow Marine getting his throat slit. That game is so good. And then Black Ops, the way Black Ops follows up on it, and the way Black Ops is a complete package, that game is so good. So there are incredible first-person shooters, but when I think about my preferences, I do prefer third-person overall. I just kind of prefer the more movie-like feel, I guess. First-person is more distinctly video gamey because you can only do that in video games. The third-person angle is always what we see in films, and something that makes games unique is the ability to go in first person. So I understand why people would prefer first person over third person for games, because it gives games more of an identity. But I don't know why, I just prefer third person. So when I was thinking about what are my favorite third person shooters, my first favorite genre is role playing games, second stealth, third is third person shooters, and a lot of stealth games have third person shooter elements as well, by the way. So there's crossover there. Such as Hitman, Metal Gear, So I was thinking about it, and I think the best third-person shooters, for me, I have to give an honorable mention to GTA 4, obviously, because it's my favorite game, but it's not really the best third-person shooter as far as, shooting mechanics, and, how it feels, I guess. And it's a lock-on shooter. It's a little bit different, I guess. It's not a free-aim third-person shooter. Though there's a lot of third-person shooters that are lock-on shooters, so it goes with the genre, going back to, the PS2, and the PS1 as well, Tomb Raider, being kind of an auto-aim, third-person shooting game, and obviously the Grand Theft Autos of old were all like that. But I'm thinking about, my favorite third-person shooters. What are the best third-person shooters as far as, they just do everything right, They combine the story and the shooting, and, it feels good, and it's fun, and it's entertaining. And for me, maybe this answer will come as a disappointment to some people, but or maybe as like a disagreeable thing. But I'm a simple man. Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 really are, to me, like I wish there were more games that felt like that. I wish there were more games where you could climb onto an object or like onto like a wall and then hang off of the ledge and shoot a guy to your left like it's an action movie. Like something James Bond would do in a movie when he's hanging on from something and he shoots a guy, or obviously Indiana Jones would do, or something like that. Or like, there was a Star Wars game that was going to be like Uncharted style. It was called Star Wars 1313. There are games that, back when Uncharted was more popular, I think there were more games out there where they were maybe like, there were more third-person shooters that were maybe trying to be cinematic like that. But then, like, The Last of Us kind of blew it all out of the water, like, because The Last of Us was so well received. And I do like The Last of Us a lot, and I respect The Last of Us a lot, but I'm not personally, like, a huge fan of The Last of Us, because I just don't find it very fun to play, and I'm not really a huge survival horror guy. I respect survival horror. I've played Resident Evil 1, 2, and 4, and 5. So I have played Resident Evil, and I like those games well enough, but they're not really my thing. Not a huge zombie guy as well, so it's whatever. But like for third-person shooters, I think Uncharted is so good. So like I hold Uncharted in this high regard, right? So I'm going on this tangent, and I promise it's leading somewhere. Because then we go to Rockstar, right? And I think of like I said, what are the best third-person shooters I've ever played? Like Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, to me, are really peak. Though Uncharted 1 has some difficulties because the shooting was a little bit rough around the edges in that first game. But and I'm not a huge fan of the shooting in the fourth game. Felt a little different to me, but I liked the shooting a lot in 2 and 3 especially. And 1 was kind of a beta version of it, but 1 was... Well, I think 1's shooting is still fun. So what's the other great third-person shooters that I would list as like my top favorite third-person shooters, right? And immediately what came to mind was Max Payne. Max Payne 1, 2, and 3, I think are peak. For similar reasons. Like, in the way that in Uncharted you would hang off of a ledge, and your gimmick is that you can like hang off of something and shoot, or you can pull a guy off a ledge, and then the melee combat is so fun and cinematic and cool. You can like yank a gun out of a guy's hand and hit him in the face with it, like that sort of Hollywood style like action movie feel. Uncharted really nails that. Max Payne is the other side of that, where you're doing shit that Neo would do in the Matrix. You're doing these jumps, and you're shooting guys, you're gunning guys down in midair. And Uncharted, you can't do that in Uncharted, but you can in Max Payne. So it's like, I feel like those two sides are like the two sides of like what makes a third-person shooter amazing for me, and why I want there to be more great third-person shooters. I also bring this up because the Remedy games are on sale right now, and I haven't played Quantum Break and Control yet, and I'm going to pick those up on sale and play those, because I really do love those first two Max Payne games. I think the third one is probably the best one, but I also love Max Payne 2 a lot, so it's kind of a tie a little bit between Max Payne 2 and 3 for me. But I want to see what Remedy has done since then, and I also need to play Alan Wake, though that's also different because that is survival horror. But I want to see what Remedy's been doing since Max Payne, because that's a huge blind spot for me. So then I was thinking, man, well, another great one, another great third-person shooter for me that really is top tier, leading to the topic at hand here that I've been building to, Red Dead Redemption 1, specifically. And I was thinking about it, right? And I was thinking about how, like, Red Dead Redemption 1, to me, is on the list for me as, like, my favorite third-person shooters ever. It's, like, it's way up there for me. But not 2. 2, I'm not so sure about. And I've been thinking about that. And why is that the case, right? And the answer comes down to preference for me, but I'm sure it's a preference that other people share, and I'm curious if anyone out there feels the same way. That's why I'm putting this out there. Because to me, it comes down to flow and arcadiness, right? And speed and the fun factor, right? So I had mentioned that I'm not a huge fan of The Last of Us, gameplay-wise. Well, the shooting in The Last of Us, I don't... It's not really to my preference. It's very weighty. When you're shooting things like a handgun or a rifle or any sort of weapon, there's kind of this thing where the reticle doesn't sit still, like the crosshairs. The crosshairs are moving constantly, almost like how in Call of Duty when you snipe, you have to hold your breath, and if you don't hold your breath and hold down the button, the scope will sway left to right, up to down, around in sort of circles. It's like that. It's like your crosshair is kind of swaying in circles and moving around based on how much you're moving. So if you're moving more, if you're trying to run and gun, it doesn't really work in The Last of Us. You have to be stationary to balance your aim, to hit your shots. And, Red Dead Redemption 2 is kind of the same way. And I noticed that immediately when I played Red Dead 2. Now, Red Dead 2 has a lock-on system. It has the lock-on aiming, so it mostly does the aiming for you. But it has that kind of swaying feel. It has that sluggishness. And I'm not really a fan of that. With me being a big fan of third-person shooters, you would think that I would love Gears of War, but I'm not actually a big Gears of War guy because the camera's too shaky, though that's kind of a personal preference thing as well. And I don't really like extreme shaky cam and, again, that sort of weightiness, but and Gears looks like it controls pretty well. Like, Gears is constantly cited as, like, one of the best third-person shooters of all time. So, like, I respect that from the angle of, like, I recognize that Gears is, like, a good third-person shooter. But it's not really to my style. And I've just been thinking about that, about, like third-person shooters are my third favorite genre of game, but I also have a preference of, like, I like run-and-gun third-person shooters. I like third-person shooters that feel fast and feel like the best action movie that you've ever seen. Like, I like that, And Red Dead Redemption 1, the more I think about it, Red Dead Redemption 1 is a masterpiece of this, of that caliber. Like, it really is, because shooting in that game on a horse or running on foot feels incredible. In Red Dead 2, it's a lot slower, and you can do, like, dive bombs where you can, like dolphin dive, almost like Call of Duty Black Ops or something. You can kind of, like, dive, but you can't shoot while diving. It's not like Max Payne, so you have to get up and then shoot. And I did like the diving in Red Dead 2. That did improve the flow of the game. If Red Dead 2 didn't have the diving, I think it would have been a much worse shooter. But thinking about that, about the flow of Red Dead 1 and how good it feels to run through a room, and when you're aiming your gun, it doesn't slow down your movement speed very much. You can run and gun in that game. You can run through a room and just clear it out and just gun everybody down. Just bam, 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 and then the Deadeye is just immensely satisfying. I'll link a video in the description to what made me think about this as well, because I watched this video and like, the amount to which you can just gun people down in that game is just fantastic. And like how fast it is. This is even reflected in the music. Like, Red Dead 1's music, like the combat music, felt a lot more like fast, and Red Dead 2's music in combat feels a little bit more like brooding and scary, I guess. Like a real fight for your life. It's more realism. Red Dead 2 has that realism. So, just thinking about all that, and then you have the horse as well. The horses in Red Dead 2, you can actually fall off of your horse and you can collide head on into something. And you go flying, like ragdolling around like it's GTA 4, flying through the windshield. While in Red Dead 1, your ass is glued to the horse and there is no getting off of it. And that horse runs like it's basically like the speed of a motorcycle from Grand Theft Auto. Like, the horses are so fast in Red Dead 1 that it's like actually unrealistic, but it's incredible. It's way more fun. So I want to say, like, if you prefer Red Dead 2 over Red Dead 1 because of the story, I totally respect that, totally get that. But I think Red Dead 1 is just so much more fun to play. Like, it really is, the more I think about it, it really is like the greatest, it really is one of the greatest, or one of the great third-person shooters of all time. Like, it really is fun to play. Like, gunning people down on the horse while the horse is running as fast as it is in that game, it's just, it's awesome. It's just an awesome game. And then you combine, like, the Deadeye bullet time, like Max Payne style, you got bullet time in there while you're on a horse. It's just like, oh my god, it's great. And the horse is going so fast and everything. I think Red Dead 1 just is a really great third-person shooter. And I think it honestly makes GTA 5 look bad. Like, the shooting in GTA 5 is nowhere near as good as Red Dead 1. And also, I'm sorry, I know people on here are GTA 4 fans. I'm one, obviously. But GTA 4 shooting is also just a complete joke compared to Red Dead 1 and Max Payne 3 especially. So I just feel like, I don't know, like Red Dead 1, it really is a masterpiece. Like, I think it's a great game. And even if the story maybe doesn't hit quite as hard, or maybe it doesn't quite go as deep as Red Dead 2, it still hits in a lot of ways, man. Like, the story in Red Dead 1 is still so emotional, especially the ending. So I think Red Dead 1 is a really, it's not news to anybody. Everybody has, thrown all kinds of praise at this game. This game has received so many awards and so many 10 out of 10s and everything. I think even IGN gave it a 10 at the time. So I'm not saying anything that anyone hasn't already heard or doesn't already know, but Red Dead Redemption 1 is, it might be Rockstar's masterpiece. I hate to say it, as much as I love GTA 4. GTA 4 is amazing, and I think it's the best story they've ever told, but it is rough around the edges in a lot of different areas. I think Red Dead 1 is their most balanced, like, perfect game. Like, it really hits all the notes. It hits everything extremely well. So, yeah, and then on the other side, on the flip side, Red Dead 2, I think its problems is that its biggest problem is that it's too realistic, it's too slow, it takes forever to do everything. It takes forever to get on the horse, it takes forever to get off the horse, it takes forever to talk to people, like, they slow you down for no reason, where they force you to walk when you should be able to run. Skinning animals takes forever, Also, the story itself is really long. Like, Red Dead 2 is no joke as far as, like, it is a very long game. And I've only played Red Dead 2 once since it came out, and I feel bad saying that, because it's like, man, I should replay it. But something about the slow, methodical gameplay of that game makes me not want to do it. But, like, Red Dead 2 also, I have to give credit where it's due. I remember when I played Red Dead 2, one of the things to me that really stuck out is that it felt like it was everything that Rockstar had done all rolled into one game. It had all these elements of, like, the cinematic style of GTA 5, of being, like, really, like, well choreographed. It had, like, the deep and emotional story of, like, GTA 4 and, like, Red Dead 1, and the sort of, I think, like, deep, like, inward thinking story, like Red Dead, or like GTA 4, and it had shooting that felt more on the Max Payne side than it did on the GTA 5 side. Like, I think Red Dead 2 definitely feels more like Max Payne 3 than GTA 5 does, and that's like a good thing. That's like a great thing. So, and then also Red Dead 2 has all the found footage stuff of like you're finding uh like journals and items in the environment. You're picking them up and looking at them, which is straight out of LA Noire. So Red Dead 2 in many ways takes everything that Rockstar had done and combines it. It even has some of the RPG-ish elements from San Andreas, like the survival elements and the ticking, like the numbers on the side, like your statistics and stuff of what's going on. Like that reminds me of San Andreas in a way. And the requirement to eat food and stuff. I mean, it's different from San Andreas for sure, but it has a little bit of that side. And the customization of Red Dead 2 is also really high. You can customize Arthur a lot, which reminds me of San Andreas. So, like, everything that Rockstar had done, I think, culminated in Red Dead 2 in a fantastic way, in, like, a great way. But I think the tragedy of it to me is that the game is just a little bit too boring and slow for me. But then again, I haven't gone back and replayed it, and a lot of games get better for me when I replay it. I didn't love GTA 4 nearly as much until I replayed it, so I need to go back and replay Red Dead 2 at some point. It's just a really long game, and it just takes forever to do things, and I don't know. It's a game where you kind of have to go deep. It's kind of almost like a chore. Like, yeah, I'm going to have to read the journals and stuff. I'm going to have to go through, like, Cole Phelps investigating the environment, and it's just a little bit of a chore, so that's kind of why I haven't gone back to Red Dead 2, but I didn't make this video to put down Red Dead 2, as much as I just wanted to praise Red Dead 1, and to tell you guys, definitely don't write off that first game. For anyone out there that hasn't played the first game, do yourself a favor and play it, like 100%. If you've only played Red Dead Redemption 2, you need to play the first one. At some point, like, it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it, man. Don't sleep on it, you know? And I feel like a lot of people just, man, to be honest, I'm not, like, deep in sort of, like, online opinions about things. Like, I'm not really sure what the consensus is, or if there is a consensus, or if it's split down the middle between which one is better, Red Dead 1 or 2. I'm firmly in the Red Dead 1 camp, obviously, but I feel like I see more people saying Red Dead 2 is better. And that's fine, but I swear, don't sleep on that first game. It's still, it was a 10 out of 10 back then, and it's still a 10 out of 10 now. I swear by that. So, with that, thanks for watching. I just wanted to say that. Just wanted to remind everyone how great Red Dead Redemption 1 is, and how it's totally worth replaying, and I hope it comes to PC soon. There's a rumor that it will. But either way, it's on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, and on Xbox, so of course it is worth playing. It's always worth playing and replaying. So, yeah. See you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.